So far we have read 5 paragraphs of this chapter, Sankhya, Yoga and Vedanta. Today we will start reading the 6th one. Sarita, would you like to read? Sarita?
Yeah, yes. I'll
Please,
continue.
please.
Still, whatever the precise distinctions of their metaphysical ideas, the practical difference between the Sankhya and Yoga as developed by the Gita is the same as that which now exists between the Vedantic yogas of knowledge and of works, and the practical results of the difference are also the same. The Sankhya proceeded like the Vedantic yoga of knowledge by the buddhi, by the discriminating intelligence. It arrived by reflective thought, vichara, at right discrimination, viveka, of the true nature of the soul and of the imposition on it of the works of Prakriti through attachment and identification, just as the Vedantic method arrives by the same means at the right discrimination of the true nature of the self and of the imposition on it of cosmic appearances by mental illusion, which leads to egoistic identification and attachment. In the Vedantic method, Maya ceases for the soul by its return to its true and eternal status as the one self, the Brahman, and the cosmic action disappears. In the Sankhya method, the working of the gunas falls to rest by the return of the soul.
Am I audible?
Yeah, we lost her.
Yes.
Sarita? ठीक है, Archana ji, maybe can you continue?
Yeah. Let's start with the previous line.
Yeah.
In the Vedantic method, Maya ceases for the soul by its return to its true and eternal status as the one self, the Brahman, and the cosmic action disappears. In the Sankhya method, the working of the gunas falls to rest by the return of the soul to its true and eternal status as the inactive Purusha, and the cosmic action ends. The Brahman of the Mayavadins is silent, immutable, and inactive. So too is the Purusha of the Sankhya. Therefore, for both, ascetic renunciation of life and works is a necessary means of liberation. Ascetic renunciation of life and works is a necessary means of liberation. But for the yoga of the Gita, as for the Vedantic yoga of works, action is not only a preparation, but itself the means of liberation. It is the justice of this view which the Gita seeks to bring out with such an unceasing force and insistence. An insistence, unfortunately, which could not prevail in India against the tremendous tide of Buddhism. There's a footnote, right?
Yeah.
Should I continue?
Wait. Yeah, read the footnote.
At the same time, the Gita seems to have largely influenced Mahayanist Buddhism, and texts are taken bodily from it into the Buddhist scriptures. It may therefore have helped largely to turn Buddhism, originally a school of quietistic and illuminated ascetics, into that religion of meditative devotion and compassionate action which has so powerfully influenced Asiatic culture.
Yeah. Against the tremendous tide of Buddhism.
Yeah. Against the tremendous tide of Buddhism, was lost afterwards in the intensity of ascetic illusionism and the fervor of world-shunning saints and devotees, and is only now beginning to exercise its real and salutary influence on the Indian mind. Renunciation is indispensable, but the true renunciation is the inner rejection of desire and egoism. Without that, the outer physical abandoning of works is a thing unreal and ineffective. With it ceases even to be necessary, although it is not forbidden. Knowledge is essential. There is no higher force for liberation, but works with knowledge are also needed. By the union of knowledge and works, the soul dwells entirely in the Brahmic status, not only in repose and inactive calm, but in the very midst and stress and violence of action. Devotion is all important, but works with devotion are also important. By the union of knowledge, devotion, and works, the soul is taken up into the highest status of the Ishvara to dwell there in the Purushottama, who is master at once of the eternal spiritual calm and the eternal cosmic activity. This is the synthesis of the Gita.
What to say? Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Thank you,
This
Archana.
paragraph is sort of a supplement to the earlier tracing that he does, isn't it? Huh? But in terms of philosophical angle.
Yeah. Yeah, he goes about it, in a very thorough fashion. Very, very thorough fashion.
Hmm.
तो वो जो ideas को reinforce करना है, he comes back to it again and yeah. I mean, this is basically his style of writing. वो summarize करना and then re-summarize करना, anticipate करना, wherever he sees something which needs to be gone into very deeply. He will go into it very deeply like that. So, like I was reading somewhere today, essays on the Gita is it is wrong to call it a commentary on the Gita. It's like he has, upgraded the Gita itself. He has brought out so many
Beautiful.
original things and such a incredible style of writing and everything. Unfortunately, since it is so intellectual and I mean, the English is, Cambridge में पढ़े थे and all, so it's not accessible for everybody. But those who can basically read this book, in that context only I came to know कि जो वो Margaret Wilson थी, the Woodrow Wilson's daughter. So
Ah.
she had read this book, but she had even been First Lady of America for some time. Maybe her mother had passed away or whatever. So she had even been First Lady of America for some time. And, she was caught by this book. She just found it in a library in New York. And, she was blown away and she came all the way to Pondicherry to confirm with her own eyes that there is there is a human being on earth who can write a book like this. So anyway, so this is the Shri Aurobindo की महिमा तो हम क्या ही बोले कितना बोले, right? So yeah, last two, well, we've been basically just been able to cover one paragraph in one session. Last two sessions, clear enough tha last time we had gone in quite detail. I'll just begin from the beginning of this one. Just once before that, Sarita, are you there? Have you joined back?
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Acha, we had lost your voice, so I had to ask Archana ji to continue.
No problem.
Acha, may I ask also who is admin over here? I'm just able to see admin. Who is this? Nobody's replying. Okay, no problem. Still, whatever the precise distinctions of their metaphysical ideas, the practical difference between the Sankhya and Yoga as developed by the Gita is the same as that which now exists between the Vedantic yogas of knowledge and of works.
Can you
And
just
the-
elaborate this line before you proceed?
Yeah.
This particular line before the comma. What does he mean by Vedantic works of knowledge and
Vedantic yogas of knowledge
yogas?
and of works.
And what does he mean by that?
What he means by that is,
Yeah.
as he has been saying, Sankhya, Yoga, and Vedanta, they were three different systems. Obviously, they had their common points, but they were different. But Gita jo hai, since it has synthesized them, So after the Gita has come, and as we stand today, so it's basically a Vedantic yoga. The two things are joined, and what we have is the Vedantic method of practicing yoga. और उस Vedantic yoga में the Vedantic yoga of knowledge and the Vedantic yoga of works. That is what he means.
हाँ, वो समझा कि मतलब उसमें भी दो है, जैसे इधर दो
Basically, Sankhya and yoga is Jnana yoga and Karma yoga, na?
correct, but in Vedantic also such a thing existed. It implies that right here.
एक मिनट कंफ्यूजन नहीं है कुछ भी दो भाई.
हाँ,
वेदांत, सांख्य और योग, ठीक है,
हाँ,
दीज आर 3 डिफरेंट सिस्टम्स.
करेक्ट.
जो मैंने वो षड दर्शन बोले थे उसमें ये तीनों नाम भी आए थे, ठीक है. बट गीता इज बेसिकली अ वेदांतिक टेक्स्ट, राइट?
करेक्ट.
बट जो योगिक आइडियाज हैं, जो योगा के आइडियाज हैं, वो उनको एक वेदांतिक कलरिंग देती है और वो सांख्य को भी सिंथेसाइज करती है. So after the Gita, what we have is a Vedantic yoga and a Vedantic Sankhya. Is it clear?
अच्छा, मतलब ये this Vedantic yoga and Vedantic Sankhya is after Gita's arrival, not before that.
उन्होंने वेदांतिक संख्या वर्ड यूज नहीं किया है. सी यहाँ पे वो कह रहे हैं एज दैट विच नाउ एग्जिस्ट्स एट प्रेजेंट. आज की तारीख में जब ये बुक लिखी गई थी, एंड देयर इज नॉट मच डिफरेंस इन द लास्ट 100 years, as today they exist, the Vedantic yoga of knowledge and the Vedantic yoga of works. Basically, the yoga of knowledge and the yoga of works, but totally colored by the Vedantic ideas. What is the Vedantic idea chiefly? The idea of the एकमेवा द्वितीयम ब्रह्म, ठीक है, जो उसको यूनाइट करके चलता है.
So if I were to recap what you just said, Sankhya and Yoga तो हमको मालूम है, one is ज्ञान मार्ग, another is the कर्म मार्ग, right? Now Gita comes into the picture. It synthesizes Sankhya and Yoga in its second chapter.
Sankhya yoga and Vedanta.
And हाँ, but Vedanta का हमको second chapter में दिखाई देता है क्या? Vedanta में
see the word Brahman belongs to the Vedanta system.
Vedanta, okay, so that is how Vedanta.
As we have been saying now all along, the word Purusha is the goal of the Sankhya system. Yoga system का the goal is the word the Ishvara basically. Okay. कभी कभी कुछ लोग योगा वर्ड को परमात्मा के साथ वर्ड के साथ भी जोड़ते हैं, बट बेसिकली द वर्ड ईश्वर, क्योंकि इन द कर्म योगा यू ऑफर योर एक्शंस टू एक इम्पर्सनल सेल्फ को. आत्मन अगर आप बोलेंगे तो उसको इट्स नॉट सो इजी टू ऑफर, पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. यू ऑफर इट टू द डिवाइन एंटिटी, यू ऑफर इट टू विष्णु, और यू ऑफर इट टू द सुप्रीम डिवाइन इन द कर्म योगा सिस्टम. इज इट क्लियर ना? तो योगा में बेसिकली इट इज ईश्वरा, सांख्य में इट इज पुरुषा, वेदांत में इट इज ब्रह्मन.
हाँ, इसीलिए वो लास्ट में एषा ब्राह्मी स्थिति, द वर्ड कम्स फ्रॉम द सिंथेसिस ऑफ वेदांतिक योगा इनटू द गीता, राइट?
एग्जैक्टली.
तो उस वक्त वेदांत भी अलग था, बट गीता ब्रॉट इट टुगेदर, करेक्ट?
वेदांत का मतलब बेसिकली था उपनिषद.
हाँ, ओके.
और उपनिषद की टीचिंग में एज यू शुड रिमेंबर कि पुरुषोत्तम का कॉन्सेप्ट केवल मेंशन्ड मात्र है, हिंटेड है, इट इज नॉट ब्रॉट आउट. एंड उपनिषद में लाइक श्वेताश्वतर उपनिषद है, ठीक है, तो इट स्पीक्स ऑफ द 2 birds, ठीक है, एंड 1 प्रकृति. हाँ,
द्वासुपर्ण वाला. हाँ,
एग्जैक्टली वही. तो गीता क्या कर रही है? दैट आइडिया विच इज सॉर्ट ऑफ इम्प्लाइड इन द उपनिषद, इट इज ब्रिंगिंग इट आउट इनटू इट्स फुल फोर्स एंड प्रोमिनेंस. तो
आप क्या ये बता सकते हैं अभी कि जो उपनिषद में आइडिया ऑफ योगा ऑफ नॉलेज था वो किस नाम से जाता था, और योगा ऑफ
ब्रह्मवाद. उपनिषद में जो योगा ऑफ नॉलेज का आइडिया है, दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड ब्रह्मवाद, द गोइंग टुवर्ड्स द रियलाइजेशन ऑफ द ब्रह्मन. एंड देयर आर सेवरल विद्यास इन द उपनिषद, लाइक इफ यू सी छांदोग्य उपनिषद, तो उसमें कई सारी वो अलग अलग मेथड्स हैं उसके लिए, ये विद्या वो विद्या, बहुत सारा उसमें कुछ है.
अच्छा, और वर्क्स को क्या कहते हैं?
The aim of the Upanishadic yoga in general अगर आप देखो तो it is Brahman. ईशा उपनिषद है फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इट बिगिंस विद द वर्ड ईशा. तो फिर आप कहेंगे कि ऐसा कैसे? ईशा उपनिषद में तो पहला शब्द ही ईशा है. बात ठीक है, लेकिन ओवरऑल अगर आप उपनिषद की फिलॉसफी को देखें, दैट इज व्हाट लीड्स टू ब्रह्मवाद.
ओके, और वर्क्स को क्या कहते थे? वर्क्स को क्या कहते थे?
वर्क्स को उपनिषद में क्या कहते थे?
हाँ क्या मतलब
कर्म,
जैसे
कर्म,
हाँ कर्म ही
कर्म
कहते हैं।
कुर्वन् नेवेह कर्माणि।
हाँ
इसी
ओके, सो इट वाज गोइंग
वर्क्स
बाय
को
द
और क्या
सेम
बोल
नेम,
सकते हैं?
it was going by the same name karma yoga in Upanishadic Vedantic time also.
यू आर गेटिंग कंफ्यूज बैडली, यू गेटिंग कंफ्यूज बैडली। कर्म
मैं
योगा वर्ड उसमें नहीं, नहीं, गीता में जो योगा वर्ड है दैट इज व्हाट इट मींस, कर्म योगा, ठीक है। अब उपनिषद के अंदर एग्जैक्टली exactly, अगर केवल कर्म लिखा होगा उसका मतलब कर्म योगा नहीं होगा, पहली बात तो। उसके
हाँ
अंदर अगर आप, आई थिंक जो कंफ्यूज हो रहे हैं आप, ये मे बी मिक्स कर रहे हैं थोड़ा सा अपने माइंड में उपनिषद और गीता को।
नहीं, I'll clarify my position,
हाँ
एक
बोलिए,
मिनट, give me some time.
हाँ
So
बोलिए।
the way I understood is Sankhya is Jnana Marga,
या
Jnana Yoga,
या
and the yoga which was understood then is Karma Yoga. Okay, next.
बाय द वर्ड योगा इन द गीता व्हाट इज मेंट इज कर्म योगा।
Okay,
नाउ इट इज
okay,
क्लियर
okay,
ना।
okay.
3.3 जो है ना,
हाँ
लोकेस्मिन द्विविधा निष्ठा पुरा
हाँ
प्रोक्ता मया नघ। इस श्लोक में पुराने टाइम से डबल निष्ठा है। लोकेस्मिन द्विविधा निष्ठा पुरा प्रोक्ता मया नघ, ज्ञान योगेन सांख्यानाम कर्म योगेन योगिना।
क्योंकि वेद में I'll tell you the origin of this, the way why I'm bit questioning this. वेद में कर्म कांड और ज्ञान कांड दोनों है, बराबर? तो ज्ञान कांड बिकेम सांख्य
ठीक है, ठीक है,
और
करेक्ट।
कर्म कांड बिकेम ये क्या कहते हैं?
कर्मकांड बेसिकली,
हाँ
कर्मकांड का जो एम होता है
हाँ
दैट इज नॉट यूनियन विद द डिवाइन कॉन्शियसनेस। कर्मकांड का एम इज टू रीच अ हेवनली स्टेटस, और या
करेक्ट
इट्स बेसिकली हेवनली इंजॉयमेंट, स्वर्ग
करेक्ट
भोग।
करेक्ट, भोग भोग
मतलब
ऐश्वर्य, हाँ
कर्मकांड का एक्चुअली एम डबल होता
हाँ
है,
हाँ,
मास्टरी और एंजॉयमेंट ऑफ दिस वर्ल्ड एंड फुल एंजॉयमेंट ऑफ द अदर वर्ल्ड्स। उसमें द
ओके।
एम इज नॉट मतलब क्लियरली टोल्ड आउट कि इट इज द डिवाइन, वो उसमें एम नहीं होता है क्लियरली, दैट इज द लिमिटेशन ऑफ कर्मकांड।
हम्म। अब थोड़ा आगे चलते हैं, वहां से आया, उसके बाद आया उपनिषदिक एज, राइट? आफ्टर द वेदस केम द उपनिषदिक एज, करेक्ट? तो वहां पर द योगा ऑफ नॉलेज, वेदांत सिंथेसाइज्ड इनटू ब्रह्मन, करेक्ट?
या
एंड वर्क्स का
इट
क्या?
इट इट बिकेम ब्रह्मवाद
हाँ, इट
इन द
बिकेम
उपनिषद।
ब्रह्मवाद, ओके। एंड व्हाट
वर्क्स
व्हाट
को उसमें टोटली निग्लेक्ट नहीं किया है।
हाँ वही मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ, वर्क्स को उसमें क्या कहते थे?
कर्म,
कर्मा ही कहते थे,
और
ओके।
क्या कहेंगे वर्क्स को, क्या कहेंगे, कर्माणि कहेंगे प्लूरल में बोलेंगे तो।
अच्छा अच्छा, नहीं उसमें कोई योग नहीं था, मतलब देयर वाज नो
था, ऐसा नहीं कह सकते कि नहीं था। ऐसा
ओके।
नहीं मैं बता रहा हूँ, मैं क्लैरिफाई कर रहा हूँ। जैसे
हाँ
ईशापनिषद का वर्ष है, कुर्वन् नेवेह कर्माणि जिजीविषेत् शतं समाह एवं त्वयि नान्यथे तोस्ति न कर्म लिप्यते नरे। तो ऑब्वियसली इट इज रेफरिंग टू डिजायरलेस एक्शंस विच डू नॉट बाइंड यू, तो इट इज
करेक्ट,
रेफरिंग टू कर्म योगा, ठीक है।
ओके
बट
ओके।
ईशा जो है, ईशा इज अ वेरी सिंथेटिक उपनिषद, और ईशा को उतना इंपॉर्टेंस भी नहीं दिया बाद में। ये अभी जो बात कर रहे हैं ना, जहाँ पे विच नाउ एग्जिस्ट एट प्रेजेंट,
हम्म,
तो शंकराचार्य के वन ऑफ जो मेन डिसाइपल्स थे, उन्होंने तो ईशा को लिस्ट ऑफ मेन उपनिषद से ही हटा दिया था, बिकॉज इट वॉज नॉट फिटिंग इन विद द मायावादिक आइडियाज। डू यू अंडरस्टैंड?
ओह
यस,
अच्छा।
यस। वो डिसाइपल का नाम नहीं मुझे मालूम है। शंकराचार्य हैड रिटन अ कमेंट्री ऑन द ईशा, बट ईशा वॉज नॉट गिवन सो मच इंपॉर्टेंस। तो ओवरऑल अगर आप उपनिषद का देखें तो इट हैड बेसिकली रिजल्टेड इन ब्रह्मवाद,
हम्म
ज्ञान योग, एंड जिस तरह से शंकर ने उसको हैंडल किया, इंटरप्रेट किया, आगे जाके वो आएगा इसमें,
हम्म,
इट लेड टू दैट मायावाद बेसिकली, द वे इट
गॉट
वाज
इट।
इंटरप्रेटेड।
हाँ नहीं, क्योंकि वेद उपनिषद के बाद आई गीता, विच इज
हाँ,
रिगार्डेड एज 13th उपनिषद, वहां
या
पर ये पूरा सांख्य
सिंथेसाइज हो गया,
योग
परफेक्टली सिंथेसाइज हो गया है इन द
रेकनसाइल
आइडिया
हो
ऑफ
गया,
द पुरुषोत्तम।
करेक्ट, रेकनसाइल हो गया यहाँ पर, ठीक है, ओके। थैंक यू सो मच, सॉरी।
नो
Uh,
प्रॉब्लम, बहुत ज्यादा टाइम
and
गया इसमें। हाँ बोलिए।
what my limited understanding is, what yoga is to joining with God, union with God through knowledge and through works. So
यस,
when we say Vedantic yoga of knowledge or Vedantic yoga of works,
या
it is of how to
करेक्ट,
have union with
करेक्ट,
God through
करेक्ट,
knowledge and through
करेक्ट,
karma
इन द वे ऑफ द वेदांत।
in the way of the Vedanta.
बट यू आर राइट, आई एम सॉरी, यू आर राइट इन सेइंग दैट, बट जैसे श्री अरबिंदो एकदम थ्रेडबेयर करके एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं ना, तो गीता में थर्ड चैप्टर में जैसे द वर्ड योगा, कर्म योगे न योगिनाम, वहां पे जब ये यूज होता है तो उसका मतलब कर्म योगा होता है। एंड सिंस वी
हाँ
आर स्टडीइंग द गीता, तो व्हेन वी एक्सप्लेन दोज वर्ड्स, तो उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट को ध्यान में रहते हुए, एंड वो एक ओवरऑल एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव मीनिंग हमको लेकर, एवरीबडी नोज दैट द वर्ड योगा मीन्स यूनियन, वो अगर हमने समझ लिया तो कौन सा बहुत बड़ा काम हो गया, यू अंडरस्टैंड। बट वो एकदम न्यूएंस्ड अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि योगा शब्द का उस वक्त क्या अर्थ था, गीता के समय में क्या था, अब क्या था, दैट इज वाई वी टेक सो मच ट्रबल टू गो इनटू सो मच डेप्थ। क्लियर। एक
हाँ,
और
तो
किसी का भी
योगा
हैंड
मीन्स
रेज हुआ था। या
योगा मीन्स वर्क्स
इन द गीता, वही
इन
ज्ञान योगेन सांख्यानाम कर्म योगेन योगिना,
हाँ ठीक
3.3।
है।
Okay, okay. I'll just read this first sentence again. Still, whatever the precise distinctions of their metaphysical ideas, the practical difference between the Sankhya and the Yoga as developed by the Gita is the same as that which now exists between the Vedantic yogas of knowledge and of works. Yeah. And the practical results of the difference are also the same. Okay. The Sankhya proceeded like the Vedantic yoga of knowledge. हाँ हाँ, यहाँ पे वेदांतिक योगा ऑफ नॉलेज से मतलब योगा एज अ सिस्टम ऑफ यूनियन विद द डिवाइन, करेक्ट। द सांख्या प्रोसीडेड लाइक द वेदांतिक योगा ऑफ नॉलेज बाय द बुद्धि। वेदांतिक योगा ऑफ नॉलेज बेसिकली जैसे अहम ब्रह्मास्मि, इस पे मेडिटेट करना, बट देयर ऑब्वियसली इट्स अ मेडिटेशन दैट वे, एंड इट्स द वर्ड देयर इज ब्रह्मन। In the Sankhya, it is that withdrawal, it is that witness consciousness, and seeing the movements of Prakriti separate from yourself, knowing yourself as the Purusha, using the Buddhi as a means of this discrimination, like that. So the Sankhya proceeded like the Vedantic yoga of knowledge by the Buddhi, by the discriminating intelligence. Correct. It arrived by reflective thought, vichara, at right discrimination, viveka, of the true nature of the soul and of the imposition on it, mane on the soul, of the works of Prakriti through attachment and identification. ये बात हुई सांख्य की. Just as the Vedantic method arrives by the same means at the right discrimination of the true nature of the self and of the imposition on it of cosmic appearances by mental illusion, which leads to egoistic identification and attachment.
ब्यूटीफुल, क्या सिमिलैरिटी बता दी है।
हाँ, सिमिलैरिटी भी और स्लाइड जो उनका डिस्टिंक्शन है वो भी,
हाँ
of the true nature of the soul and of the imposition on it. Imposition के लिए the proper Sanskrit word is अध्यारोप, ठीक है, सुपर इम्पोजिशन बेसिकली,
सुपर इम्पोजिशन। और सोल यहाँ वी शुड रीड इट एज
पुरुष
पुरुष, not the individual soul, not really the cosmic which the Vedantic। हाँ,
कॉस्मिक होगा तो उसमें वो क्लियरली बोलेंगे
नहीं वो
यूनिवर्सल
ब्रह्मन,
सोल।
मैं वेदांत की बात कर रहा हूँ, वेदांत में कॉस्मिक हो जाता है ब्रह्मन, बराबर। वो
वेदांत में वेदांत
इंडिविजुअल
जो
नहीं है।
जो वेदांत की यहाँ पे बात कर रहे हैं उसके अंदर इंडिविजुअल होता ही नहीं है, करेक्ट। द जीवा हैज नो रियलिटी इन दैट वेदांत।
The jiva has no, okay.
द जीवा हैज नो रियलिटी इन द मायावादिक वेदांत।
Okay, beautiful.
गीता का जो वेदांत है, गीता भी वेदांत है, ठीक है, लेकिन
हाँ,
गीता के वेदांत के अंदर जीव जो है वो सनातन है। ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातन।
okay, yeah, beautiful.
रादर आई
That
शुड से
helps.
कि गीता इज द मूल टेक्स्ट ऑफ वेदांत ना, वन ऑफ द थ्री। तो गीता में ये लिखा है, लेकिन द वे इट हैज बीन एक्सप्लेन्ड इन द मायावादिक फिलॉसफी, उसके अंदर वो जीव का जो इटर्निटी है बेसिकली, या उसका जो अस्तित्व है, वो अलग से उसको एक्सेप्ट नहीं किया गया। In
मतलब
that
basically
philosophy, it
जीवा
is
is a
understood.
non-entity. जीवा is a non-entity in मायावादी.
Non-entity नहीं है. It's like कि non-entity इसलिए नहीं है because what it says is कि as long as the jiva is deceived by these appearances, it knows itself as the jiva. But when it gets free of all this maya, then it knows itself as the Brahman. And basically in that condition there is Brahman alone. उस ब्रह्म के सिवा कुछ है ही नहीं. ठीक है. तो जब ब्रह्म के सिवा कुछ है ही नहीं तो जीवा भी नहीं था. तो in this way the jiva has no existence. That is what it means.
Achha, but the dual purusha status of the purusha still exists in the mayavad also, which we studied earlier in the earlier chapter.
नहीं, उसके अंदर माया has no real existence. Maya has existence as long as you are in the maya. Okay. But when you are
okay.
out of it and you have recovered the Brahman, then you realize that, it was like a dream and I have woken up from the dream. And was the dream real? No, the dream was not real. What is real is me, who is now the Brahman. Like that.
So in the
Only,
mayavadic, is
only
it
the
correct?
Brahman has existence. वो जो pure मायावाद है, उसके अंदर only the Brahman has existence. Only the Brahman is real, nothing else is real.
Yeah, that sums it up, because I was about to say the same thing. That means in mayavadic philosophy, Brahman is cosmic existence, the sole entity exists. Whereas if you compare it with Sankhya, you have Purusha and Prakriti separate. The single recovery is only of the individual soul.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. That helps. Yeah.
No problem. It arrived by reflective thought vichara at the right discrimination viveka, of the true nature of the soul and of the imposition on it of the works of Prakriti through attachment and identification. ठीक है? कि the Purusha, by identifying itself with the works of Prakriti, knows itself as the Prakriti and is bound. वही अहंकार विमूढ़ात्मा कर्ता हम इति मन्यते. 3.27 of the Gita, right? Just as, and what is the reverse process? Ki you give up that identification with the Prakriti. I am not the Prakriti. I am the Purusha who is supporting the Prakriti, and you recover back that Purusha poise, that witness poise. Okay. In the Vedantic method, arrives by the same means at the right discrimination of the true nature of the self. So here, what is the word used? Self, Atman. मैंने बोला था ना कि जैसे कुछ लोग जो योगी बोलते हैं तो वो परमात्मा बोलते हैं, बट आत्मन एंड ब्रह्मन आर ऑल्सो मेनी टाइम्स दे आर यूज सिनोनिमसली. तो स्ट्रिक्टली स्पीकिंग, इफ यू वांट टू कीप इन योर माइंड दीज मेन वर्ड्स और वो किस सिस्टम से कैसे रिलेट होता है, तो ब्रह्मन इज फॉर द वेदांत एंड समटाइम्स ब्रह्मन और आत्मन. ठीक है. ईश्वर फॉर द योगा सिस्टम एंड पुरुष फॉर द सांख्य सिस्टम. ओके. So just as the Vedantic method arrives by the same means at the right discrimination of the true nature of the self and of the imposition on this self of cosmic appearances. ये appearance है, ये reality नहीं है. By mental illusion. Your mind is basically deluding you and imposing on the pure self that is you all these cosmic appearances, and because of it, which leads to egoistic identification and attachment. Clear ही था, I think. किसी को कहीं पे भी रोकना हो बीच में कुछ पूछने के लिए तो please do stop. I mean, in the Vedantic method, Maya ceases for the soul by its return to its true and eternal status. आ गया ना, ceases, रहती नहीं है. It's over. There is no existence of Maya. Khatam. In the Vedantic method, Maya ceases for the soul by its return to its true and eternal status as the one self, the Brahman. And the cosmic action disappears. You have regained that eternal silence. Basically, the same thing being said in two different systems, in the Vedantic system. Correct. And in the Sankhya system. Okay.
This sentence completes the earlier thought to its fullest.
Abhi is wale ka second part, let me read. In the Sankhya method, the working of the gunas falls to rest by the return of the soul to its true and eternal status as the inactive Purusha and the cosmic action ends. Okay. Basically, the Vedantic method is a little more philosophical that way, because उसमें ये appearance और reality और इस तरह का जो चीज है, it is मतलब slightly more subtle than the Sankhya method that way. Sankhya is comparatively more down to earth that way. The Brahman of the Mayavadins is silent, immutable, and inactive. The Brahman of the Mayavadins. Okay, mind you. So too is the Purusha of the Sankhya. इसी को हमने क्या बोला था? अक्षर पुरुष. That is what Gita calls it. इसने लिखा है चैट में. Everyone, sorry, I'll have to leave. Okay, GT. Okay.
This is the Brahmans of the Mayavadin.
Brahman of the Mayavadins माने Brahman as explained by the Mayavad philosophy.
That is a Vedantic one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Brahman of the Mayavadins is silent, immutable, and inactive. So too is the Purusha of the Sankhya. Therefore, क्योंकि दोनों inactive हैं, for both ascetic renunciation of life and works is a necessary means of liberation.
लिबरेशन के कंपल्शन क्यों है यहाँ पर? अभी ये क्लियर हो गया.
किसकी कंपल्शन क्यों है?
ये दो सिस्टम्स की कंपल्शन है एक्चुअली.
हाँ, करेक्ट. Because in both the systems, the aim is something which is silent and inactive and unchanging, immutable.
And the cosmic action also has to end, no? The Maya and the...
Exactly. Action has no reality in the Mayavad system. लिखा है ना, cosmic action disappears. ये वाला. Right? But for the yoga of the Gita, as for the Vedantic yoga of works. Yoga of the Gita क्या है? Maybe आगे जाकर के clear होगा, but
This is again karma.
yeah, actually, I mean, मैं वही थोड़ा सा hesitate कर रहा था. But for the yoga of the Gita, because yoga of the Gita अगर normally हम बोलते हैं, ठीक है, as a whole अगर हम बोलते हैं, तो by the word yoga of the Gita we mean actually the triple path, in which jnana, karma and bhakti are perfectly synthesized. Normally that is what is meant when I say as a whole. जब हम बोलते हैं, ये नहीं कि गीता में इस पर्टिकुलर जगह पे उसका क्या मतलब है, योग का इसका क्या मतलब है. Generally when we say the yoga of the Gita, we mean the triple path in which all the three are combined, without any problem, with perfect harmony. Anyway, आगे पढ़ते हैं, क्लियर हो जाएगा, इससे कोई खास इतना प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. But for the yoga of the Gita, as for the Vedantic yoga of works, action is not only a preparation, yes, but itself the means of liberation. Yeah. हाँ, तो यहाँ पे योगा ऑफ द गीता वर्ड का मतलब कर्म योगा ही है.
कर्म योग हो गया. हाँ.
और ये इसके लिए देयर इज अ वेरी वंडरफुल श्लोका व्हिच मतलब हाइलाइट्स दिस एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरीली वेल. 18th चैप्टर में है. आई एम जस्ट चेकिंग एग्जैक्ट वर्स नंबर 45 और 46. 46. यतः प्रवृत्तिर्भूतानां येन सर्वमिदं ततं स्वकर्मणा तमभ्यर्च्य सिद्धिं विन्दति मानवः. Action is not only a preparation, but itself the means of liberation.
What was the verse? Sorry, come again.
18.46 था.
18.46.
पहले actually going by the chronology, the third chapter में जो verse है, I'll tell that and then I'll go to that 18th वाले में. So third में it is 3.20. I'll just show it here. Maybe today again we'll be able to do only one paragraph, but that's okay. At least we'll do it thoroughly. कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता. Oh, my Chrome crashed.
हाँ इसीलिए यहाँ शेयरिंग चला गया.
Yeah. 1 minute. कुछ भी होता रहता है. Yeah. This one. कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम्. कर्मणा एव. दो जो स्ट्रेस के लिए ना एव. कर्मणा मतलब बाय कर्म. तो कर्म के द्वारा ही, कर्मणैव ही, कर्म के द्वारा ही संसिद्धिम परफेक्ट परफेक्शन आस्थिता जनकादय. यहाँ पे शेयरिंग नहीं था क्या?
ना.
ओह आई एम वेरी सॉरी. आई थॉट कि आ गया होगा ऑटोमेटिकली. ओके.
हाँ अब आया.
तो ये वाला कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम आस्थिता जनकादय. कर्मणा एव ही. कर्मणा मीन्स बाय कर्म. एव ही. एव मतलब एव ही माने उसी के द्वारा. मियरली बाय कर्म, जस्ट बाय कर्म और थ्रू कर्म इंडीड संसिद्धिम आस्थिता. परफेक्ट परफेक्शन में स्थित हो गए. कौन? जनक आदय, जनक आदि, जनक एटसेट्रा. एक तो ये है. इट वॉज इवन बाय वर्क्स दैट जनका एंड द रेस्ट अटेन्ड टू परफेक्शन. क्लियरली बोला. ठीक है. दूसरा जो मैंने बोला था दैट वाज 1846. That is like even more clarity sort of. It says both the parts of the words are dedicated to that. ये वाला यतः प्रवृत्तिर भूतानाम येन सर्वमिदं ततम स्वकर्मणा तम अभ्यर्च्य सिद्धिम विन्दति मानवः. कुछ नहीं, वेरी सिंपली स्वकर्मणा तम अभ्यर्च्य. तम माने उसको, द्वितीय एक वचन. अभ्यर्च्य में अर्चना शब्द का वो है धातु.
ऑफर.
अर्च.
ऑफर.
वर्शिप. वर्शिप बेसिकली. ऑफर के लिए द वर्ड इज अर्पित. अर्पित, अर्पित करना.
अर्पित.
अर्चना इज नॉट ऑफर. अर्चना इज वर्शिप.
ओके. ओके.
स्वकर्मणा तम अभ्यर्च्य, अपने कर्मों से उसकी अर्चना करने से सिद्धिम विन्दति मानव, अ मैन अटेन्स परफेक्शन. किसकी? कौन है वो तम? कौन है? यतः प्रवृत्तिर भूतानाम येन सर्वम इदम ततम, from whom all this has come into being, and by and of whom basically all this is the self extension. He from whom all beings originate. One second. He from whom all beings originate, by whom all this universe is pervaded, right? By worshipping him by his own work. That's why the great importance given in Indian culture to doing your work as a worship, because this is a direct way to liberation. साफ शब्दों में लिखा है एकदम, by worshipping him by his own work a man reacheth perfection. और एक्चुअली परफेक्शन वर्ड भी यहाँ पे छोटा है. होना चाहिए था कायदे से. अच्छा, यहाँ पे तो सम सिद्धिम नहीं है, यहाँ पे सिद्धिम है. ठीक है. 3.20 में था सम सिद्धिम. हियर इट इज सिद्धिम. करेक्ट. स्वकर्मणा तम अभ्यर्च्य सिद्धिम विन्दति मानवः. Right? So these are the two verses. I'll just open that incarnate word link again. I don't know why my Chrome crashed time. Sorry.
नहीं, मे बी द साइट, बिकॉज मेरा भी होता है. ये साइट खोलता हूँ तो क्रैश हो जाता है.
Maybe. 1 minute.
ऑल्सो अनमोल
6. हाँ प्लीज बोलिए.
एको आ रही है. मालूम नहीं.
I don't know why.
हाँ, इट्स गॉन नाउ. हाँ, in this sentence Sri Aurobindo is switching back to Vedantic yoga of works, and he is moving away from Mayavad from the earlier sentence. Is that
थोड़ा सा एक बार पूरा सेंटेंस पढ़ते हैं, then समझ में आएगा.
हाँ, because he says as for the Vedantic yoga of works, otherwise he's very explicit Mayavad in his.
As मतलब जैसे गीता के योग के लिए वैसे ही,
जैसे
यथा तथा.
हाँ यथा तथा, but here is explicit reference is to Vedantic yoga of work and
Yeah.
not Mayavad, because
Correct.
he's switching the thought here.
Correct. But for the yoga of the Gita, as for the Vedantic yoga of works, action is not only a preparation, but itself the means of liberation.
Action is diametrically opposite placed to Sankhya and
Diametrically opposite तो पता नहीं, but what
क्यों
he's
क्यों
saying here,
उसमें तो भागना है ना, निवृत्ति करनी है, एक्शन से ही निवृत्ति हो,
yeah,
इसमें तो वो नहीं है ना, प्रवृत्ति मार्ग.
yeah, correct.
And Mayavad is also the same thing.
Your voice is breaking slightly, Dhaval bhai.
हाँ, मायावाद में भी सेम है ना, एक्शन से भाग रहे हैं वहां पर भी.
आप ऐसे बोले तो हाँ, जो उसमें सी somebody has an experience, ठीक है, जो मायावाद की फिलॉसफी जिन्होंने फॉर्मुलेट करी है, द ग्रेट आदि शंकराचार्य. सो Shobando explained it in his letters कि why it comes into being. वो थोड़ा और डीपर हो जाता है. Basically he says when you go from the mind, when you shoot from the mind straight on the absolute, then the mind is sort of stunned, like that. It's like you are blinded by a light which is too bright for you. And because of that too bright light, आपकी आंखों के सामने ना, फिर जब आप वापस वर्ल्ड में आते हैं तो everything is black, कुछ भी नहीं बचा, like that. You are blinded by a light which is too bright, like that. And because when the mind goes straight, जब वो सीधा शूट करता है without going step by step, जब आप higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind, over mind, when you go step by step, then it does not happen like that. Then you see also the purpose of the spirit in the world, etc. But when you straight away shoot to that absolute, then the mind is sort of stunned, and the contrast between the mental experience and the experience of that Brahman is so absolute that,
हाँ मतलब ये जो
yeah.
आप, you are absolutely right. ये तो फिजिकल में भी देखते हैं, सूर्य को देख के
By
फिर
the
सब
way,
काला.
by the way, why has Sri Aurobindo become capable of explaining it in this manner? Because his first realization was also that of nirvana, वो जो लेले के साथ हुआ. His mind became totally silent in one day. And he describes कि it was जब वो बॉम्बे में एक बालकनी से देख रहे हैं या कुछ है, तो it's like a, बहुत वो phrase बड़ा amazing है. I'll have to search it and paste it. Like a, play of vacant forms in a cinematographic ऐसे करके कुछ. तो it's basically a Nirvanic and Mayavadic sort of experience. But because he was patient, he did not immediately come to conclusion that this is it, because he was meant to. I'm not saying that Shankara was impatient. Sri Aurobindo was meant to give to earth and human beings something much more complete. That is why, he lived in that nirvana, stayed in that nirvana for so much. Disturbance is coming. किसके यहाँ कहाँ से आ रहा है?
iPad, somebody with iPad.
Jeeti, is that you? Can you please mute yourself?
Anmol, I don't think it is me.
नहीं, it is you. बहुत इको आ रहा है जीती. हाँ, thank you. So he stayed in that silence, and then basically that silence got filled by higher things. Okay, that is why he's able to explain everything. मायावाद में कोई ऐसे problem नहीं है. The criticism in that is only कि it is something partial and it leads to inactivity and basically decline in worldly progress and all that. Okay, so we'll come back to this.
And if I'm not mistaken, just one more thing, Anmol bhai, I want to make a similar noting and see if you can confirm. Mother also mentions in a very different context about Mahakali. She says Mahakali is not black; she's actually very golden. But when people see her, they just cannot hold it, and she appears dark. So very similar to what you just said.
नहीं,
वो अलग है.
That's not like that. नहीं. It's not Mahakali. Mahakali is of golden color, fine. जो आप बोल रहे हैं black वाला, that is not Mahakali, that is Kali, and that is a Kali of a vital plane.
Okay.
हाँ.
Okay.
It's not कि आपने yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
No problem. Sorry क्या इसमें. Where were we? The Brahman of the Mayavadins is silent, immutable, and inactive. So too is the Purusha of the Sankhya. Therefore, Acha, sorry. But for the yoga of the Gita, as for the Vedantic yoga of works, action is not only a preparation, but itself the means of liberation. Okay. Swakarmana tam abhyarchya siddhim vindati manava. ये एक बहुत पॉपुलर मिसकंसेप्शन है कि हाउ कैन बाय मियर एक्शन आई कैन अटेन लिबरेशन. Yes, you can. The Gita is saying it. If whatever you are doing, you do it with full sincerity, wholeheartedness, and you do it as a worship of the divine. Naturally, if you are going to do something as a worship of the divine, you will do it to your utmost, capacity, and you will do it in the best possible way. So when you do it in that worshipful way, tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manava, वो आपको perfection दे देगा. ठीक है? Take the Gita's word for it. Even if there are doubts regarding this, do not doubt the Gita. Take the Shastra's word for it.
There is one verse somewhere in the 3rd chapter where Sri Krishna says, I don't need to do anything, but still I am also
doing
The
it. Verse that you are referring to, Sarita, is 3.22. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanavaptam avaptavyam varta evacha karmani. Even though there is nothing that I need to do, मेरा कोई कर्तव्य नहीं है तीनों लोकों में, there is nothing that is binding upon me that I should do this, yet, and nanavaptam avaptavyam mane, there is nothing that I have not attained and which is remaining for me to attain. ठीक है? Even though that is the case, varta evacha karmani, I engage myself in works relentlessly. That is the verse 3.22. So
Anmol, I hope
yes.
I'm not disturbing now.
No, बोलिए.
अच्छा, ये जो सिद्धि होती है, परफेक्शन जिसकी बात कर रहे हैं हम, when you come to that point, तभी बोलते हैं कि सिद्धि प्राप्त है.
हाँ, नहीं. हाँ, सिद्धि प्राप्त माने
कहते हैं ना, उनको सिद्धि प्राप्त है, उनकी इतनी परफेक्शन हो गई है.
करेक्ट. एक्चुअली
है ना?
प्रॉपरली व्हेन वी से इट इन हिंदी, आपके वहां से इको आ रहा है.
I don't know why.
Even I can't tell why.
Are you
Normally
using
we say कि
Bluetooth and speaker?
normally we say कि this is a सिद्ध पुरुष. ठीक है? इनको सिद्धि प्राप्त हो गई है, उसके दो मीनिंग हो सकते हैं. एक मीनिंग सिद्धि प्राप्त हो गई है मींस कि he has attained the divine, he has become perfect. दूसरा सिद्धि का जो लोअर मीनिंग होता है कि some powers have come into it. तो सिद्धि वर्ड के नॉर्मली ये दो मीनिंग होते हैं. यहां पे जो गीता में बोला जा रहा है, इट इज द हायर मीनिंग. इट इज दैट बेसिकली दैट you have attained the divine, you have become perfect. All the imperfections you are liberated from them
By perfecting your works and offering to the divine.
by offering your works to swakarmana, by worshipping the divine with your works. But wait, the work then has to become worship by making your work worship, basically. Okay. And it is the justice of this view which the Gita seeks to bring out with such an unceasing force and insistence. An insistence, unfortunately, which could not prevail in India against the tremendous tide of Buddhism, was lost afterwards in the intensity of ascetic illusionism and the fervor of world-shunning saints and devotees, and is only now beginning to exercise its real and salutary influence on the Indian mind. ये बहुत important है to understand the Indian history, so we'll go about it slightly deliberately. ठीक है? What is, किस चीज पे गीता emphasize करना चाहती है, insist करना चाहती है? The power of works themselves to act as a means of liberation. Somehow नहीं, we know why and how. As we stand today, certainly when this book was being published for the first time, योगा का मतलब, ज्ञान योगा का मतलब बेसिकली कि कर्मों को छोड़ो, भागो उससे, एंड उस इनएक्टिव को प्राप्त करो, संन्यास उसका रास्ता है, गो टू द केव और द फॉरेस्ट एंड निवृत्त हो जाओ इस सब से. All this is basically, useless like that. So it has reduced, that idea has reduced, as he himself is saying here. तो गीता जो थी वो क्या कर रही है, जो इंसिस्टेंस किस चीज पे है गीता का, कि वर्क्स अलोन, इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. ये मिसकंसेप्शन माइंड से हटना. जैसे मैंने आई थिंक लास्ट टाइम या लास्ट टू लास्ट टाइम कहा था कि कर्म करते रहने से कर्म से मुक्ति कैसे प्राप्त हो जाएगी, ये क्या पॉलिसी है. इट साउंड्स लाइक दैट ना, कि यार काम करते रहो और काम करते रहने से ही तुम्हें काम से मुक्ति हो जाएगी. अगर मैं काम करता रहूंगा तो मैं कामों में और फंस जाऊंगा ना. हाउ विल वर्किंग free me from works itself? The Gita tells you how it will free. When you do that work as a worship to the divine. और उसमें भी वो divine कौन सा है? When we say archana, so you can do that archana to some god also. Ganesha, Hanuman, Lakshmi, whatever. That is not the archana which Gita is asking you to do in 18.46. Yatah pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam. जिससे सब कुछ उत्पन्न हुआ. यतः मतलब फ्रॉम होम, प्रवृत्ति ही मतलब आगे आया है, भूतानाम मतलब सारे बीइंग्स. ये न सर्वम इदम ततम. ये न मीन्स बाय विच, सर्वम इदम मीन्स ऑल दिस, ततम मीन्स एक्सटेंडेड. कि ही हु इज द ओरिजिन ऑफ ऑल दिस, of whom all this is the self extension, basically the origin and source of everything, the divine, the Purushottama, not merely any intermediary god. ये भी माइंड में क्लियर होना चाहिए. ये भी एक गलती होती है,
बहुत सही बताया.
सबकॉन्शियसली हो जाती है गलती.
या वेरी
Obviously we will not make any mistake deliberately, but we are offering our worship to some cosmic power. Yeah, and we are thinking ki, why am I not getting liberated? Because you are not offering your worship, directing your worship to where it should be directed. Okay. So yeah, so it is the justice of this view, etc. An insistence, unfortunately, which could not prevail in India against the tremendous tide of Buddhism, etc. अब यहाँ पे श्री अरबिंदो ने 4 चीजें बोली हैं. Look at the chronology. Buddhism, उसके बाद ascetic illusionism, that is like 8th century. Buddhism is basically from कितना होगा 500 BC टू अराउंड शंकरा के टाइम तक था वो, तब तक थोड़ा डिक्लाइन होना शुरू हो गया था, बट फॉर गुड 7-8 centuries it was there, beginning with the birth of Buddha, and Buddha attained realization at the age of 36. He started sermonizing, he lived till the age of 80, like that. ठीक है, तो गुड लाइक दैट पीरियड. तो बुद्धिज्म, उसके बाद ascetic illusionism, मायावाद. ठीक है, देन ही इज रेफरिंग टू द भक्ति मूवमेंट which came North India mein, at least in its peak. There was somebody called Ramanand in Varanasi. He is said to, जिन्होंने in true earnest उसको begin किया, but it went on like 13th century, 14th, 15th. So many saints we find from all classes of society coming up. You find even as a butcher is a saint, even वो Raidas जो थे वो Charmakara, he is a saint. All sorts of people, even from royal backgrounds, this that पूरा. But mostly वो क्या है, fervor of world shunning saints and devotees. That kind of devotion is quite content to be lost in its devotional swoon. SWOON. ठीक है, quite happy वो world shunning वगैरह. It does not, वो कर्म के ऊपर जो इंसिस्टेंस है कि कर्म के द्वारा, वो सब बैकग्राउंड में जा चुका है. बुद्धिज्म का मेथड जो बुद्धिज्म का मेथड था, असेटिक इल्यूजनिज्म में ज्ञानवाद, ये सारा जो है फर्वर ऑफ वर्ल्ड शनिंग सेंट्स और डिवोटीज में, इसमें वो भक्ति मार्ग. तो ओनली दीज वर थॉट एज अ मीन्स ऑफ लिबरेशन. The pure bhakti people who are not having that, integral bhakti, if I may call it that, you will find them saying कि there is only one way of getting rid of, the troubles of the world, etc. And that is by total devotion to the divine. But part of that devotion is to be able to see the workings of that divine in the world also. No? Obviously, by any which way, if you can get a glimpse of the divine, it is something great, no doubt. So all these things, they have done a great service to humanity, at their time, and we ourselves in our past lives, हमने definitely इनमें से कुछ ना कुछ योगा practice किया होगा. if we were there at the time of Buddha, if we were there at the time of Shankara, time of the Bhakti movement, whatever, in some form or the other, even in this life, अंदर से psychology जो है, many of these things they are being followed by us consciously or unconsciously, have been followed by us, ठीक है? And then he comes to and is only now beginning to exercise its real influence and real and salutary influence on the Indian mind. ये जो हुआ है, जो modern times की बात कर रहे हैं, the fourth thing in chronology, Buddhism, Shankara, Bhakti movement, and then the modern times. This started with Bankim, the great rishi. महर्षि तो नहीं बोला उसको, बट ऋषि बोला श्री अरविंदो ने, बंकिम चंद्र चट्टोपाध्याय. ही गेव अ लॉट ऑफ इंपॉर्टेंस टू कर्मण्यवाधिकारस्ते, बहुत ज्यादा. You have the right to the action, and he wrote so many books, and he was क्या थे वो, he was a civil servant थे, and not very long life, only around 60, but great service. बंदे मातरम का जो मंत्र है, it was given by Bankim in Anand Math.
तो
That's why
अनमोल
he's
भाई,
called a rishi. हाँ,
अभी आपने जो पूरा ये क्रोनोलॉजी की बात करी,
अभी खत्म नहीं हुआ है वैसे वो.
नहीं, आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू रिकैप हियर. मतलब गीता ने सिंथेसिस किया, वापस सिंथेसिस को 2 स्ट्रैंड में कर दिया, ऐसे समझ लग, बाय बुद्धिस्ट
गीता का सिंथेसिस आ गया था,
एंड
हाँ, गीता का सिंथेसिस आ गया
हाँ,
था, बट फिर से
आ गया
उसको
था, पर
फर्दर
उसके
डिवाइड
बाद
करके ब्रांचेस में ले लिया.
हाँ एग्जैक्टली, मैं वही कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि वो उसको फाड़ दिया वापस.
या करेक्ट. उसका रीजन बताया ना. See the word unfortunately over here. An insistence, unfortunately, which could not prevail against the tremendous tide of Buddhism. पहले मैं जस्ट उसको बंकिम वाले पॉइंट को खत्म करता हूं, then I'll come to this footnote. It's already 9:02, but allow me to, मतलब we had already started at 8:05 only, तो 9:15 तक मैक्सिमम सेशन खत्म कर लेंगे, ठीक है. Bankim gave this a lot of importance to karma, 2.47 जो है. He even made कर्मण्यवाधिकारस्ते the महावाक्य of the Gita. That's how he told that it is. इसीलिए I think core of the teaching में था, where Sri Aurobindo clears that misconception. But still, जो कर्म की importance थी उसको आगे लेकर के आया. People like Tilak is regarded as a great authority on the Gita. In his time, so definitely he was regarded. His commentary on the Gita is regarded very highly. So, and they were all great karma yogis that way. Bankim का मैं बोल रहा था कि he is the one who gave that mantra of Bande Mataram. That is why Sri Aurobindo calls him a rishi. Anyway, तो ये लिखा ना, only now beginning to exercise its real and salutary influence on the Indian mind. And Sri Aurobindo, of course, the greatest of all these. In fact, Sri Aurobindo जो जर्नल है उनका, after coming out of the jail, it was titled Karma Yogin. He chose that title for it. उसमें वो कृष्णा और अर्जुन की फोटो होती थी on the newspaper, and पार्थसारथी वाला basically Krishna as the charioteer, right? ये जो footnote है, this is also important. Yeah, tremendous tide of Buddhism. So Buddhism, we know na, basically it divided the society into monks and laymen, and the aim started being felt कि you have to renounce all this, sannyasa लेना है, and you have to become a monk या monk जैसे भी बोलते हैं इंग्लिश में. Okay, at the same time, now this is the ulta basically prabhav of the Gita on Buddhism. So it's not just कि गीता ने बस घुटने टेक दिए and Buddhism was able to totally derail the action of the Gita. And again, there is no real conflict or fight. It's just two different ideas coexisting and like that. Okay. At the same time, the Gita seems to have largely influenced Mahayanist Buddhism. Buddhism में भी 3 mainly होते हैं, Mahayana, Hinayana, and Theravada. And texts are taken, see, bodily from the Gita into the Buddhist scriptures. Now, I don't know any Buddhist scripture, so I would not be able to quote. But Sri Aurobindo has read everything. Matlab, how lucky we are that we have in one scholar we have everything. वेद को तो कोई टच भी नहीं कर पाता है, and Sri Aurobindo has written 3 volumes on the Vedas. It's just क्या बोलूं मतलब मैं. Anyway, at the same time, the Gita seems to have largely influenced Mahayanist Buddhism, and texts are taken bodily from it into the Buddhist scriptures from the Gita. I was told by somebody that ये जो है ना, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, विपश्यना, जो गोएनका ने शुरू किया था प्रीवियस सेंचुरी में, बहुत पॉपुलर है.
हाँ हाँ.
A lot of basically it's based on Buddhism. He was in Burma, he was suffering from something, and some Buddhist monks cured him. So out of
Correct.
gratitude and because of conviction, he became a confirmed this thing, and then he started teaching this Vipassana वगैरह. पहले 30 days का होता था, 45 days का होता था, जो भी. तो उसमें a lot of what they teach in that Vipassana, I've never done it. Uh, that is the basically the second chapter of the Gita. Samatha और ये सब silence, violence, a lot of that, right? So are taken bodily from it into the Buddhist scriptures. कहाँ गया? Sorry. It may therefore, see, कितना minutely बता रहे हैं श्री अरविंदो. It may therefore have helped to turn Buddhism. अब वो may therefore बोल रहे हैं, that is his humility. It is a fact that the Gita had this action on Buddhism. ठीक है. वो मे देयरफॉर आप श्री अरविंदो का राइटिंग स्टाइल बोल सकते हैं. अब वो खुद ही कृष्ण है तो वो आप उनको उनकी ह्यूमिलिटी बोल सकते हैं. बट एज फार एज आई सी इट, देयर इज नो मे देयर, इट इज लाइक दैट. ओके, इट मे देयरफॉर हैव हेल्प्ड लार्जली देखा, टू टर्न बुद्धिज्म ओरिजिनली अ स्कूल ऑफ क्वाइटिस्टिक एंड इल्यूमिनेटेड ascetics. उनका एम ही वही था. क्वाइटिज्म, इनर इल्यूमिनेशन, वो बोधि प्राप्त करना, और क्वाइटिज्म में जाना, निर्वाण में जाना. ठीक है. आगे कैसे हो गया? इनटू दैट रिलीजन ऑफ मेडिटेटिव डिवोशन. इवन डिवोशन एलिमेंट केम.
हाँ, मतलब भक्ति का भी अंदर घुसा उसमें.
अभी आप देखते नहीं, आप किसी बुद्धा में वहां पे जाइए, मूर्ति बुद्धा की, ये दलाई लामा की,
हाँ
बोधिसत्वों की, कितने सारों की, वो उसकी पूजा वूजा भी कर रहे हैं. तो वो सब कहाँ से आ गया उसमें? इट्स ऑल
हाँ हाँ हाँ,
ऑब्वियसली
अच्छा
बिकॉज ऑफ द
अच्छा.
इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ गीता एंड सनातन धर्म ऑन बुद्धिज्म, राइट?
ओके,
ओके.
सो दैट इज द कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ गीता. ओके.
यस यस, कंट्रीब्यूशन का डायरेक्ट इन्फ्लुएंस है,
हाँ,
प्रभाव है
इन्फ्लुएंस.
उसका. इररेजिस्टिबल लिखा तो है टेकन बॉडीली. गीता के जो वर्सेस हैं वो संस्कृत है. बुद्धिस्ट स्क्रिप्चर्स कुछ तो संस्कृत में भी एग्जिस्ट करते हैं, बट मोस्टली इट इज अ डिस्टॉर्टेड फॉर्म ऑफ संस्कृत. तो वो डिस्टॉर्ट करके डाल दिया होगा, बट दे आर टेकन बॉडीली. जस्ट लाइक यू कैन से कि देयर आर वर्सेस व्हिच आर, सम ऑफ द वर्सेस आर टेकन बॉडीली फ्रॉम द उपनिषद्स इनटू द गीता. ठीक है. सर्वतः पाणिपादम तत् सर्वतः शिशिरोमुखम सर्वतः श्रुतिमल्लोके सर्वमावृत्य तिष्ठति. ये एग्जैक्ट वर्ड्स आई थिंक कठोपनिषद में है, एंड दिस इज देयर इन द गीता 13th चैप्टर. ठीक है. यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यम चरंती, अगेन कठोपनिषद में है, वो डायरेक्टली गीता में उठाया हुआ है. और भी ऐसे होंगे, अब सारे उपनिषद तो मुझे याद नहीं है. तो सिमिलरली, बिकॉज बुद्धिज्म हैज सक्सीडेड गीता, द वर्ड्स आर टेकन बॉडीली. वो उसका थोड़ा लैंग्वेज बदल गया होगा. ठीक है. इनटू दैट रिलीजन ऑफ मेडिटेटिव डिवोशन and compassionate action, which has so powerfully influenced not just Indian culture, Asiatic culture. यहाँ पे वो बुद्धिज्म की ग्रेटनेस भी बता रहे हैं. बुद्धिस्ट मॉन्क्स मतलब दे वर रियली मूव्ड बाय दैट कंपैशन, और लोगों को जाकर के हील करना, काउंसल करना, हॉस्पिटल वगैरह खोलना, बहुत काम किया बुद्धिज्म ने. moved by their, this thing, the sorrow of the world, to go far and wide. And they would do what? They would go, let's say, Southeast Asia में कैसे फैला? They did not go and convert forcefully like ये missionaries वगैरह करते हैं, या in a subtle and surreptitious way. They went and lived the Dhamma. उसको धम्मा बोलते हैं. And through that influence, that radiating influence, people got attracted, and they said कि अरे क्या बढ़िया चीजें हमें भी सिखाई है. Like that, eightfold path उसको बोलते हैं, right? So yeah, तो Buddhism was very active, very active. Even मतलब आर्ट इसमें भी they have done some, they've written a lot of books, and वो sculpture वगैरह बनाना, वो all this details, if you want, you have to read the जो volume 20 है श्री अरविंदो का, CWSA 20. In this kind of lecture it is not possible, but Buddhism was very active. वो शुरू शुरू में वो क्वाइटिज्म वगैरह था, बट दे वर मूव्ड बाय दैट कंपैशन एंड दैट मेडिटेटिव डिवोशन भी उसके अंदर आया, एंड दे वर वेरी एक्टिव. व्हेन द से दैट द नालंदा में जो बुद्धिस्ट वो था, वहां पे वो जलाया गया था, तो बुद्धिस्ट मॉन्क्स ने इतना उसमें बुक्स वगैरह लिखे हुए थे, दैट व्हेन दैट बख्तियार खिलजी बर्न्ड द लाइब्रेरी, इट बर्न्ड फॉर लाइक, आई थिंक मोर देन अ मंथ इट केप्ट बर्निंग. सो मच इंटेलेक्चुअल एक्शन हैड बीन डन बाय दीज पीपल, एंड इट वाज बेसिकली अ बुद्धिस्ट थिंग. और भी वहां पे बुक्स होंगी सनातन धर्म की, बट पॉइंट इज टू से कि द गीता हैड दिस इफेक्ट ऑन बुद्धिज्म ऑल्सो. तो ये दिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग, इस तरह से हिस्ट्री को, क्रोनोलॉजी को, इंडिया में स्पिरिचुअल थॉट का एवोल्यूशन कैसे हुआ है, द वे श्री अरबिंदो डज इट नाउ विद सच मास्टरी एंड माइन्यूटनेस, इट इज जस्ट What a blessing. Anyway, into which it has so powerfully, influenced Asiatic culture. Clear? अब इसके आगे चलते हैं. This was not the main point, but it had to be at least given its due. Okay. हाँ. Renunciation is indispensable. Yeah. Renunciation is indispensable, but the true renunciation is the inner rejection of desire and egoism. त्याग तेना त्यक्तेना भुंजीथा ईशा में आता है. How does Sri Aurobindo translate it? First translation is by that renounced thou shouldst enjoy. उसे उतना क्लियर नहीं होता है, तो वो फर्दर एलैबोरेट करते हैं. Enjoyment of all. Am I audible?
Yeah,
Am I
your
audible?
this thing, internet probably is breaking. Yeah, your voice
Start
is.
from the beginning of the sentence. बीच में चला गया.
हाँ. Renunciation is indispensable, but the true renunciation is the inner rejection of desire and egoism. Yes. The inner rejection of desire and egoism. That is what comes in the Isha Upanishad also. When it says, Tena tyaktena bhunjitha. Enjoyment of all by renunciation of all. Sounds like a mystery. क्या बोल रहे हैं? Enjoyment of all by renunciation of all? नहीं. Third point makes it clear. By the exclusion of desire. This is yoga. अपने अंदर जो डिजायर और ईगोइज्म है उसके पीछे हाथ धो के पड़ जाना. You have to root it out from your system. This is yoga. Release from egoism. This is yoga. Okay. Renunciation is indispensable, but the true renunciation is the inner rejection of desire and egoism. Without that, the outer physical abandoning of works, karma sannyasa, right? आया था ना, तयोस्तु कर्म संन्यासात कर्म योगो विशिष्यते, 5th chapter के beginning में. So the contrast between the words त्याग, इसीलिए आप ध्यान दें, ईशा में the word that is used is त्यक्तेन, not संन्यस्तेन, त्यक्तेन. खैर मीटर में भी फिट नहीं होगा, बट the word that is used there is tyaktena, not sannyasta. Tyaga means inner renunciation. Sannyasa means external renunciation. Okay? Without that, the outer physical abandoning of works is a thing unreal. होगा ही नहीं. अगर अंदर से रिजेक्ट नहीं किया है डिजायर को, बाहर से छोड़ दो, कुछ भी कर लो, नहीं होने वाला. अंदर से भरा पड़ा है.
शरीरपि यात्रा चपि, not possible.
हाँ, शरीर यात्रा पिछते, वो तो है ही है, बट उसमें मिथ्याचार स उच्यते वो आता है. यस्त्विंद्रियाणि मनसा नियम्या रवते अर्जुन कर्मेंद्रिय कर्मयोगम असक्तः स विशिष्यते, उसके बाद का श्लोक है, वहां पे पढ़ा था मिथ्याचार. एनीवे, विदाउट दैट द फिजिकल अबैंडनिंग ऑफ वर्क्स इज अ थिंग अनरियल एंड इनइफेक्टिव. विद इट माने इनर रिजेक्शन ऑफ डिजायर. अगर वो इनर रिजेक्शन ऑफ डिजायर हो रहा है, it ceases even to be necessary. Physical abandoning of works is not necessary, although it is not forbidden. So if you are free inwardly from desire, then you act or you don't act. It makes no difference. You can act because you have no desire. You are working nishkama. Okay? But it's not forbidden also. If you want, you can give up action. It doesn't make any difference to you because inwardly you have risen above it. This is the teaching of the Gita. This is, you can say, one of the most fundamental teachings of the Gita. Okay? Although it is not forbidden, knowledge is essential. There is no higher force for liberation. Nahi jnane na sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. 4th chapter में आता है. In this world, iha, ज्ञान के सदृश्य, like knowledge, पवित्रम नहीं है, कुछ नहीं. नहीं ज्ञाने न सदृशम पवित्रम इह विद्यते. विद्यते माने एग्जिस्ट कर. There is nothing as purifying as knowledge in this world. Beautiful sentence. अभी जो हम कर रहे हैं बेसिकली वी आर गेटिंग प्योरिफाइड बाय दिस नॉलेज. नहीं ज्ञानेन सदृशम पवित्रमिह विद्यते. There is nothing as purifying as knowledge in this world. Hmm? Knowledge is essential. There is no higher force for liberation, but works with knowledge are also needed. By the union of knowledge and works, the soul dwells entirely in the Brahmic status, not only in repose and inactive calm. That is why he has used the word entirely, but in the very midst and stress and violence of action. Sri Aurobindo gives his own example. वो जो निर्वाण वाली मैंने बात करी, अमेजिंग सेंटेंस. निर्वाण हो गया था जनवरी 1908 में. He got arrested on 5th May 1908. So they were like 4-5 months. He says, I was walking through the streets of Kolkata, going to my office in that nirvanic condition. And he was writing the Bande Matram. And he says, I have done revolutionary action, Ghoram Karma, from that nirvanic state. So somebody was saying, how is it possible? He said, but I have done it.
But he's unattached, no? Because he's in that condition.
Still, he did not give up action. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, yeah.
In that nirvanic condition, wherein you are feeling everything is ekdam vacant forms hai, kuch nahi hai, still he continued to act. That's what I'm saying. Okay. By the union of knowledge and works, the soul dwells entirely, dekha, entirely in the Brahmic status. It is not entire if you are only in the quietism, but you lose it when you are acting. Entirely in the Brahmic status, not only in repose and inactive calm. ठीक है. रिपोज मतलब सोना होता है बेसिकली. रिपोज मीन्स स्लीप एंड इनएक्टिव काम, बट इन द वेरी मिडस्ट एंड स्ट्रेस एंड violence of action. Sri Aurobindo, he himself did not make bombs and all. You could say indirectly he sort of, not exactly blessing, but ठीक है, इससे भी कुछ काम निकल सकता है. That was his attitude towards that. But his brother, मतलब one of those people, दो revolutionaries थे, while testing one of the homemade bombs जो हैं, वो हिलॉक पे टेस्ट करने गया, वो वहीं मर गया बस. Nalnida was seeing it, वो पीछे छुप करके देख रहे थे. तो and they used to read the Upanishads in the morning every day. They were doing sadhana, yoga.
So this is acting in Brahmi sthiti.
Yeah, जो यहाँ पे बोल रहे हैं.
हाँ, यहाँ पे बोल रहे हो.
Acting in Brahmi sthiti, yeah. Yogastha kuru karmani. Being established in yoga, do works. 2.48. Okay. Last sentence. Devotion is all important. Last element. Knowledge works ho gaya. Devotion. Devotion is all important, but works with devotion are also important. वही जो वो पहले का क्रोनोलॉजी है ना, उसको वो करेक्ट कर रहे हैं कि बुद्धिज्म में ये हुआ, फिर मायावाद में केवल नॉलेज हुआ, असेटिक वो जो थे सेंट्स वगैरह, वर्ल्ड शनिंग, उसमें केवल डिवोशन हुआ. बट वर्क्स को जो सेकेंडरी इंपॉर्टेंस दिया गया, निग्लेक्ट किया गया, या यू स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग दैट वर्क्स आर नॉट पॉसिबल एज अ मीन्स ऑफ लिबरेशन, दैट ही इज करेक्टिंग ओवर हियर. ओके. डिवोशन इज ऑल इंपॉर्टेंट, ऑल इंपॉर्टेंट. ऑल वर्ड को निग्लेक्ट नहीं कर सकते. इट इज ऑल इंपॉर्टेंट. विदाउट डिवोशन यू कैनॉट हैव दैट dwelling in the supreme, in the पुरुषोत्तम. पॉसिबल ही नहीं. गीता अगर करना है तो तीनों जो गीता का योग अगर करना है, एट अनदर प्लेस एक ऐसे है लेटर, उसमें श्री अरबिंदो यूज करते हैं द कंप्लीट योगा ऑफ द गीता. ही यूजेस द एडजेक्टिव कंप्लीट फॉर द योगा ऑफ द गीता. राइट. All these three elements have to be there. The will, the intellect, and the heart and emotion. They have to be fully united with the divine. Karma Jnana Bhakti. Okay. Devotion is all important. But works with devotion are also important. By the union of knowledge, devotion, and works, the soul is taken up into the highest status of the Ishvara. एक वर्ड ध्यान से पढ़ें. Highest status of the Ishvara. To dwell there in the Purushottama. Nivasishyasi जो था ना 12.8 में. He will dwell in me. Nivasishyasi mayi eva. Mayi means in me. Saptami ek vachan. Yeah, 12.8. By the union of knowledge, devotion, and works, the soul is taken up into the highest status of the Purush, of the Ishvara, to dwell there in the Purushottama. And who is this Purushottama? He is master at once of the eternal spiritual calm and the eternal cosmic activity. You could also say the Akshara and the Kshara. That eternal spiritual calm is the Akshara Purusha, Purusha के सेंस में अगर बोलें तो, और जो कॉस्मिक एक्टिविटी है, दैट क्षर, जिसके अंदर वो सारा म्यूटेशन वगैरह चलता रहता है, द पॉइज ऑफ द पुरुषा एज द क्षर. Eternal cosmic activity को you can also say Prakriti. That is why the Kshara Purusha is also called Purusha in Prakriti. To dwell there in the Purushottama, who is master at once. He is the master of the eternal calm also. What does it mean? He is not limited by that calm. कि वो केवल calm रह सकता है. He can just stay quiet and inactive and calm, but he cannot get into action. Then he's not a master of that calmness, right? Then that calmness or that inactivity, that is his master then. You cannot remain without it. That is not a true mastery. You will be called master of that calm when, being in that, you can engage yourself in the most intense action that is needed from you.
So Anmol bhai, if we were to relate this with the terms of integral yoga, so Ishvara means psychic being merging with the, or having its identification with the Jiva, the central being, and Jiva becoming.
आप ये ना यूज करो तो बेटर है थोड़ा सा अभी, क्योंकि when you say Ishvara, it means Lord, you are Ishvara of your own this thing, ठीक है? तो the psychic is the Ishvara that way. उसमें भी ना मतलब वही वो शब्दों का कैसे बोलूं, मतलब मैं साइकिक बीइंग के लिए ईश्वर वर्ड गीता भी यूज करती है, आई डू एग्री विद यू, बट वो एकदम स्विच कर जाती है फ्रॉम द जीवा, इट यूजेस द वर्ड ईश्वरा इन द नेक्स्ट वर्ड. तो
आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट आवर इंटीग्रल योगा
में मैं समझ गया आपकी बात को, बट व्हेन यू से ईश्वरा, और जब हम गीता पढ़ रहे हैं, ईश्वरा इज मोस्टली यूज्ड हियर एज सिनोनिमस विद पुरुषोत्तम.
ठीक है.
वैसे ईश्वर आप गलत नहीं कह रहे हैं कि जैसे साइकिक बीइंग बाहर आएगा तो जो सेल्फ मास्टरी बढ़ेगी, especially when the psychic being has joined with the Jivatman, then you will have Ishwaratva over yourself. But does it mean that you will have Ishwaratva over the entire world? No.
No, that is when the central being identifies itself with the transcendent, Tabhika.
Even then it will not be the case.
Huh?
Even then it will not be the case.
Really?
No, it won't be. Why should it be? Why should you be given control over the entire world? You will be given control over that part which is जिसमें आपका role है. I mean, that is what my understanding is, at least. Could be also. I mean, जो इतने बड़े-बड़े gurus होते हैं, Sri Aurobindo is an example before us. So they were exercising that control over the whole earth. About that period at that time, I have not heard of, I don't know of anybody exercising such a incredible control. So I can't really say. Basically, I can't really say. Anyway, we'll just finish this. Thoda sa.
Anmol, I have a question.
Yeah.
So after reading all this, I think the last sentence,
Yeah.
starting from devotion, is all important.
Yeah.
But works with, this is, I think, the gist of the entire
Exactly. That's what
study
we read in the
we've
last.
done.
This is the synthesis of the
Gita. And secondly, you had mentioned earlier कि when you are working with the devotion, whatever is required, for जब हम सिद्धि की बात कर रहे थे, तो हम जब अर्चना करते हैं, when we offer our works, आप बोलते हैं हम एक किसी, you said something
Yeah. I said basically.
misdirect करते हैं अपनी अर्चना.
You should not
direct to.
To whom you should direct to? He from whom all beings originate, by whom all this universe is pervaded. You should direct your worship to that. He who is the origin of everything.
What word should be used for that?
Purushottama, Bhagavan.
Purushottama, right.
Bhagavan. I also had the same question in this. When we say so, Purushottama means Krishna?
Yes.
Okay, because this is something very important that you said today, that instead of praying to all the cosmic gods, we should just hold on to one
This had
main
this had
God.
become a major problem in one of the Vedic writings. ये सब वेद वगैरह के बाद, संहिता वगैरह के बाद, उसमें एक जगह वो परप्लेक्स स्टेट में पूछता है, कस्मै देवाय हविषा विधेम, कि मैं किस देव को अपनी जो हविषा है, जो उसकी ऑफरिंग है, मैं किसको दूं, उसको समझ में नहीं आता है।
मेरा भी कंफ्यूजन यही है।
नहीं तो वही ना, इसीलिए गीता में उसको कहते हैं देव देव। क्या कहते हैं? वन ऑफ द वर्ड्स दैट इज यूज्ड फॉर द सुप्रीम इज देव देव। ही इज द गॉड ऑफ
God
गॉड्स।
of gods.
महादेव जो कहते हैं।
महादेव मीन्स ग्रेट गॉड, ठीक है।
अच्छा अच्छा।
अब ग्रेट गॉड तो कई हो सकते हैं,
हाँ हाँ।
बट देव देव मेक्स इट एब्सोल्युटली क्लियर कि ही इज द गॉड ऑफ गॉड्स। बाकी जितने भी गॉड्स हैं वो उसके एस्पेक्ट्स हैं।
Okay, so Purushottama means Krishna, no?
पुरुषोत्तम मीन्स
This is a
कृष्ण।
very important clarity that I had
पुरुषोत्तम
thought.
मीन्स
And
Acha. And I also had one more question. Can you make a kind of a chronology ki, like Gita came and then uske baad mein the Buddhism came, uske baad mein the Bhakti movement
I'll do
came,
that.
like, so
I'll do
what
that.
was before the Gita, and I mean
I'll do it. I'll do it.
how was it accepted? Like Gita was quite different from the previous thinking, so how was it received by?
I'll try to do it. So basically, the sentence that you're saying, Sarita, is coming from here, जो मैं अभी highlight कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पे, ठीक है?
हाँ
इससे
हाँ
idea आया है. So as Sri Aurobindo has said in the first chapter of the book, ठीक है? First in the chronology comes the Veda.
okay.
That is available to us right now as what is called the Rig Veda Samhita, Yajurveda Samhita, Samaveda Samhita, Atharva Veda Samhita. That is the oldest document. उसमें भी particularly the Rig Veda Samhita. ठीक है? That is the first in the chronology. That is the foundation, source, origin, जो भी आप बोल लो, of all Indian culture. इंडिया में जो कुछ भी आज के तारीख में है, उसका जो origin है, it is there in the Veda. ठीक है? That is clear. Second in the chronology comes the Upanishads.
Upanishads.
ठीक है? ब्रह्मवाद, वेदांत, ये उसके लिए अलग अलग वर्ड्स हैं. Upanishads basically. उसमें there are 12 major Upanishads. उसमें भी Sri Aurobindo has given maximum importance to the Isha. He has commented full commentary on the Kena also, and but Isha was the most synthesizing. Isha synthesizes 9 contraries, तो इस वजह से Sri Aurobindo, the great synthesizer, etc. तो वो Upanishads.
So at
Third
that
is
time,
the
Vedanta was of importance.
Brahmavada Upanishads.
Okay.
Then third in chronology comes the Bhagavad Gita. What does the Gita add, which is not there in the Veda and the Upanishads? Add nahi, it is there. The idea is there. There is the Purusha Sukta in the Rig Veda. There is the idea of the Purushottama in the Upanishads, but it is not brought out clearly. The Gita adds the. Abhi wo sentence आया नहीं है because we are not able to go, fast in this chapter. वो end towards the end आएगा कि the Gita passes boldly beyond the Upanishads and the Vedas. It brings out this concept of the Purushottama. Again, I don't know, I can't say that way with authority, but I don't think that the word Purushottama exists before the Bhagavad Gita. किसी text में वो होगा ही नहीं उसके पहले. It is the
So then
Gita
when
which has
did-
introduced the word Purushottama.
When did the Sankhya philosophy come then?
सांख्य का भी ना,
Vedanta-
अगेन वो मैं उस क्रोनोलॉजी में सांख्य श्री अरबिंदो ने मेंशन नहीं किया है. He doesn't count that as a separate this thing system. But Sankhya, they say, was given by Kapila Muni, and Kapila Muni is basically, I think, third generation from Brahma. So it's very old system. अब वो exactly कब आया, कैसे आया, वेद भी बोलते हैं
हाँ,
कि
it
ब्रह्मा
doesn't
जी से ही
matter,
निकला.
हाँ.
या एग्जैक्टली. अब ये जो कपिला मुनि वगैरह का जो मैं आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन दे रहा हूं, दिस कम्स इन द भागवत पुराण. तो पुराण जो है वो तो फिर गीता के भी बाद आया, श्री अरबिंदो ने बोला है. तो फिर वो, बट सांख्य इज रिगार्डेड एज अ वेरी वेरी ओल्ड सिस्टम. सर्टेनली इट वाज देयर बिफोर द गीता. और वैदिक आइडिया से भी उसका ओवरलैप होगा फॉर श्योर. ठीक है. सो वेद, उपनिषद, गीता. गीता के बाद श्री अरबिंदो इन द फर्स्ट चैप्टर ही सेज पुराना और तंत्र, मोस्टली तंत्र, बट जो पुराना है दैट इज हैविंग अ लॉट ऑफ आइडियाज, इमेजेस एक्सेट्रा फ्रॉम द तंत्र एक्सेट्रा. तो द तंत्र इज द फोर्थ वन. वो एक बात हुआ. ठीक है. यहां पे वो जो बोल रहे हैं कि जब टाइम में गीता आई, गीता के आने के बाद उसका इन्फ्लुएंस पूरी तरह हो पाता, कम्स बुद्धिज्म. बुद्धिज्म को जो चीज यहां से डिथ्रोन करती है, दैट इज दिस असेटिक इल्यूजनिज्म क्रोनोलॉजी में.
Yeah.
Veda, Upanishad, Gita, Buddhism, ascetic illusionism, then this fervor of world shunning saints and devotees.
Yeah.
That is the Bhakti period.
Mhm.
And then he speaks about the now beginning to exercise. 19th century में basically the interest in yoga started growing everywhere. In a complete integral synthetic sort of yoga. Ramakrishna Paramhansa, for example, he practiced all the religions, जो भी उस time पे major religions थे, and he got the siddhi of them. It's like mind-boggling. He even practiced Islam, they say, Christianity, Hinduism के अलग अलग aspects, Vaishnavism, Shakta, Tantra, वगैरह वगैरह सब कुछ. So the tendency towards integrating and synthesizing all yogas had begun. Ramakrishna was a great example of that. And then Sri Aurobindo, ekdam perfectly. He synthesizes everything perfectly. He writes that great book called Synthesis of Yoga. And I mean, it's all part of that synthesis. It's not that Essays on the Gita is not synthetic in its nature. So that is like the final synthesis yet given to humanity. Clear?
So what is the difference in these two books, Essays on the Gita and Synthesis of
So
Yoga?
there is a great difference. The greatest difference is that Essays on the Gita is Sri Aurobindo's comments and explanation of the Gita, right? Whereas in the Synthesis of Yoga, he is free to write the book in his own style and way. So that is like his own book. This is Krishna's book, which he has to explain because it is so important and its ideas are so important. There's a lot of difference between the two.
So
The presentation is very different.
So when we say Purushottama means Krishna, so it means Vishnu ji also or just Krishna?
ये अब थोड़ा सा ना फिर मेरे को it's already we are stretching. So last thing, we won't stretch beyond this. See, when you say Vishnu, Krishna, etc., these Sri Aurobindo says are the overmind godheads. Okay. Again, if I'm saying overmind, let it be clear. Sri Aurobindo is the only one who writes again clearly. जो Krishna of the Gita है, that is not the usual Krishna जैसे Krishna normally रहते थे. The Krishna of the Gita, he says, it was like a spike in the graph of Krishna himself. The Gita says Krishna was spoken in a supernormal consciousness, which he lost immediately afterwards. ध्यान से सुने मेरे शब्दों को. The Gita says Krishna was spoken in a state of supernormal consciousness, which he lost immediately afterwards. This is there in a letter of Sri Aurobindo. So the Krishna of the Gita is the Parabrahma, the Purushottama. ठीक है? That is being presented through the external personality of Krishna. वैसे आप कृष्णा को एज अ गॉड हेड समझें. कृष्णा इज द इटर्नल पर्सनैलिटी ऑफ आनंद. विष्णु इज द इटर्नल पर्सनैलिटी ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस. ये दोनों में जो सूक्ष्म अंतर है वो ये है.
One is Anand and one is
Krishna is Ananda, Vishnu is consciousness.
consciousness.
That is why Rigved में जो विष्णु है, the psychological meaning of the Vishnu in the Rig Veda is given by Sri Aurobindo as cosmic consciousness. Why doesn't he use the word cosmic Ananda? Why doesn't he say cosmic Shakti? Why does he say cosmic consciousness? Because Vishnu means consciousness.
देव देव जो होते हैं जिसकी हम बात कर रहे थे,
God of
तो
gods.
वो गॉड ऑफ गॉड्स, तो ये कौन से
That is the Sri Bhagwan of the Gita.
Gita, who was speaking then in his
Yes.
He's the
other
Again, who was
Okay.
speaking then, fine, but basically who has given this, who has inspired this book, who has given this teaching.
And when we use the word tantra, tantric, just now you had mentioned that. Is this the what you call occult powers that you have?
No, not necessarily. Basically, it means the worship of Shakti.
Okay.
Use of occult powers and all, that is a part of Tantra.
वो जो 10 महाविद्या होती है देवी की, वो वाली,
that is also Tantra. That is also Tantra. That is a form of worship. वो उसमें भी एक evolution है. 10 cosmic powers में भी जो final वाली है, I think त्रिपुरा सुंदरी है. The most beautiful one. धूमावती है. धूमावती तो क्या है? वो तो vital level का है basically. धूमा means vital.
आज कुछ है धूमावती का, हाँ.
Whatever. So yeah. And as far as क्या जीती ने पूछा था ना, as far as Siddhi and all that is concerned, that can come in other yogas also. Why only Tantra? आप even Bhakti Yoga अगर practice करेंगे, you will start getting some powers, right?
Those powers, which are like, you can see the unknown.
So it is wrong to...
You can know the unknown.
Yeah, it is wrong to associate Tantra simply with powers. Tantra basically means focusing on the Shakti, on the divine feminine. That is what Tantra fundamentally means.
Okay, feminine Shakti, basically Prakriti.
Yeah. And the word जो है Tantra, the literal meaning of the word Tantra is method. The English equivalent of the Sanskrit word Tantra is method.
Right.
So, I also, once Anjali was mentioned that if you want to reach Krishna, it's easier to go through Radhaji. She helps you.
See, for all practical purposes, if you, Shiv Bandhu ने लिखा है, if you reach Krishna, you reach the divine. If you can give yourself to him, you give yourself to me. He wrote this to Dilip Kumar Roy. तो आप, for all practical purposes, if you concentrate on the Krishna of the Gita, आप जो वो राधा वाला बोल रहे हैं, again खिंचता जा रहा है, but it's all relevant. See, उस तरह की जो भक्ति होती है राधा वाली, ठीक है, where is the element of कर्म योगा, वेयर इज द एलिमेंट ऑफ वॉरियर ऑफ द वर्ल्ड वगैरह, वो उसमें एलिमेंट सप्रेस हो जाता है. उसमें इट इज द आनंद एलिमेंट विच इज डोमिनेंट एंड इन द फोरफ्रंट, बट दैट इज नॉट कंप्लीट. That can lead to that swoon, that can lead to that tendency of escaping from the world into Golok or Radhalok or Vaikuntha, etc. That is not integral yoga then. Is it clear?
No, yeah,
but again,
today.
No problem. But for again मैं बोल रहा हूँ, इसमें कोई confusion नहीं रहना चाहिए mind में. For all practical purposes, ठीक है, if you concentrate on Krishna, and especially see, very few people, लोग भागवत पुराण भी पढ़ लेते हैं या करवा लेते हैं घर पे, किसी को बुला लिया, सुन लिया, etc. गीता पढ़ने की लोगों की हिम्मत नहीं होती, पता है, या अगर पढ़ेंगे भी तो गीता कोई आसान वाली पढ़ेंगे, इस्कॉन वाली या रामसुखदास वाली टाइप की. ऐसे ऑन द गीता पढ़ना बड़ा हिम्मत का काम है. आई एम नॉट congratulating myself or you people.
No, this is also because of Sri Aurobindo's grace only, no?
Exactly. Without his grace, so it's impossible to read this book in a group like this. So
that
what
is
I'm
why,
saying is,
Anmol bhai, in Gita it is mentioned Shri Bhagwan Uvacha, not Shri Krishna Uvacha.
yes, precisely. It's not written Shri Krishna Uvacha. It's written Shri Bhagwan Uvacha. The one who is speaking in the Gita is the Parabrahma. उसमें साफ आता है यार, मैं खींचे जा रहा है 7.7 में, मत्तः परतरम नान्यत् किंचिदस्ति. मत्तः मीन्स देन मी, परतरम माने सुप्रीमर, पर माने सुप्रीम, तर होता है कंपैरेटिव के लिए, ठीक है, बेहतर. 7.7 मत्तः परतरम नान्यत् किंचिदस्ति. मुझसे ज्यादा सुप्रीम कुछ है ही नहीं. तो बात खत्म हो गई यार. गीता में साफ शब्दों में जब भगवान ने बोल दिया, जो भी गीता में बोल रहा है कि देयर इज नथिंग मोर सुप्रीम देन मी. अगर आपको नहीं मानना है तो मत मानो, आपकी मर्जी है, बट इट इज बीइंग सेड इन एब्सोल्युटली क्रिस्टल क्लियर लिटरल लैंग्वेज, मत्तः परतरम नान्यत् किंचिदस्ति.
ये इंग्लिश में है ना अनमोल भाई, इंग्लिश में श्री कृष्ण ऑफ द गीता वर्सेस कृष्ण, ये मीनिंग उभर के नहीं आता जितना श्री भगवान उवाच वर्सेस श्री कृष्ण उवाच से आता है.
एग्जैक्टली. श्री कृष्ण उवाच बाकी किसी स्क्रिप्चर में है या नहीं मुझे पता नहीं था. मैं वो बोलूं तो तब ना जब मुझे पता होगा श्री कृष्ण उवाच कहाँ लिखा है.
मैं कह रहा हूँ गीता में तो नहीं आता, इतना श्योर है.
आई अंडरस्टैंड. बट अगेन सरिता का लास्ट पॉइंट, देन वील क्लोज, बहुत लंबा हो गया आज. इफ यू कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन कृष्णा, वही जो शिव बंधु का सेंटेंस अगेन, इफ यू रीच कृष्णा यू रीच द डिवाइन. इफ यू कैन गिव योरसेल्फ टू हिम यू गिव योरसेल्फ टू मी. वो अपने डिसाइपल को लिख रहे थे, दिलीप रॉय को. फॉर ऑल प्रैक्टिकल पर्पसेस, अगर आपने गीता पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट करके, कृष्णा पे कॉन्सेंट्रेट करके कुछ रियलाइजेशन प्राप्त की, यू हैव अटेन्ड द डिवाइन मैन. इट्स नॉट अ बहुत बड़ी चीज है गीता का रियलाइजेशन प्राप्त करना. टू अटेन द श्री भगवान ऑफ द गीता इज लाइक something very very great.
Basically we should meditate on him.
Yes.
ठीक है, we'll close now. It's too long.
Thank you Anmol, thank you so much.
It's an amazing session.
अनमोल भाई आपको बहुत तंग कर रहे हैं ना हम लोग. सॉरी यार.
देखो धवल भाई, तंग वंग क्या है अब. आइडियली मे बी वी शुड हैव डन कवर्ड लिटिल लेस ऑफ दिस पैराग्राफ, बट फिर वो आधा पैराग्राफ अगली बार करना वो डजंट मेक मेनी सेंस.
बट पार्डन मी, बिकॉज़ मेरे को तो बहुत प्रश्न पूछने की आदत है, नहीं समझा तो
कोई बात नहीं. It's better to ask and resolve it once rather than let it remain in you.
I'm the true instrument of the divine to help all of us.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so patient, Anmol bhai.
No.
Thank you Anmol. Thank you so much.
I'll stop the recording now. We'll just close with silence. Just wait, please.